So I just had the cutest little Chinese girl walk by, and she is adorable. 她是漂亮. So I wanted to do a quick take on Olivia Munn. I took notice of her because she was in a movie that I just recently watched. I can't quite recall the title at the moment, but it was kind of a romantic comedy that she starred in. I never heard of her before, or maybe I did, but I don't remember that I've seen her in anything. But she was the highlight of the movie. She's a pretty good actress. I thought she was very pretty, and she did a good job in the movie. It wasn't the greatest movie, but it was worth watching. It was a worthwhile movie. And so I started following her. And right after I started following her, I never saw many posts from her, but the first one she did was about Stop Asian Hate. And I honestly didn't know she was Asian. She certainly doesn't particularly look Asian to me. So I was interested in her take, but let me start from the outset. I'm very upset about what happened. 6 people being killed who are Asian. That's terrible on any level. But the first thing that came to my mind was that the gentleman might have a mental illness. Now, you can research that whether you think it's relevant, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. Now, on top of that, there have been many incidents about Asians and people protesting against them or what do you call, singling them out for hate. This is abhorrent on any from any angle. Yes, I agree. But on the contrarian point of view, I spent a decade in Asia, and the hate towards foreigners by Asians is, being generous, 10 times worse. And I think anybody who was in Asia, who is a foreigner, will agree with me. It is by far worse for foreigners in Asia. And so I'm not saying we shouldn't call out incidents where people target Asians. I'm not saying that at all. I am just saying that by comparison, it's not as bad. And I was in Spain, and I brought this up to a gentleman, saying, well, what do you think? And he agreed with me. He said, in the Western world, you can't do the things that they do over there towards foreigners. You just can't do it. So I would just caution people to be a little cognizant about what's going on. When I was in China as a foreigner, you cannot even check into a hotel in many instances. It's just not even allowed. And when I didn't know this, and when I said I thought they were being racist to me, I called the police. The police came, and they were not sympathetic to me. They pretty much said, get out of here. So I just want people to know that when people are protesting saying Stop Asian Hate, the hate is not the same in Asia. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, nothing. So just have some perspective on what people are doing and saying. Olivia Munn doesn't mention any of this in her posts, and I think she should. What she did do when she went to one of the rallies is she had a sign and she had a swear word, because I guess somebody said they're having a bad day or something like that, and she said, F your bad day. So I thought that was a little bad taste. I'm not saying she shouldn't protest. I'm not saying she shouldn't bring it up, but whenever you swear, that to me is bad taste. And then I would say this. Anderson Cooper did a 3 segments in a row. I think, I don't watch him, but I just saw on his posts 3 days in a row. He said he was talking about anti-Asian hate, and he brought in Jeremy Lin. Now, is Jeremy Lin really the spokesperson for this issue? I think not. I think he brought him in because he is Asian, but he's a basketball player. He's not someone who should be talking about this issue as far as from an intellectual point of view, at least to me. Now, the thing I want to bring up is twofold. I think by definition, all crimes are hate crimes. So if Olivia Munn is making a big deal saying, I want this to be branded a hate crime, I just wonder why. Now, I did some research. Obviously, the person will, if it's branded a hate crime, they will get longer time. So I guess that's the reason. But I just think, aren't all crimes by definition hate crimes? And then second of all, it can't bring the person who was killed back. So branding it a hate crime is fine, but you're not going to bring the person who was killed back to life. So I think it's a little disingenuous, or a little bit of wasted energy to brand it a hate crime. Now, I also want to bring up this issue that comes to mind when I think of it. There is issues that I think are far more important that Olivia Munn doesn't mention, doesn't talk about, or at least not of any of the research that I saw on related to her talking about. There is the 2 Canadians who were locked up in China because of the Huawei princess in Vancouver. Now, they are in prisons, and you can do the research. They are not given, as far as I can see, a bed. They are not giving counsel. They just were put on trial. No foreign people were allowed to attend the trial. Their lawyers were not allowed to attend the trial. They've been there, I think, over 2 years. Olivia Meng Wanzhou is allowed to stay in her mansion. All she has is a curfew, but she's allowed to stay in her mansion. So this shows you what I'm saying about the treatment from one side to the other. Canadians treat people very well. And then Serpent Za just did a recent post, and he said the amount of racism in the US is minimal compared to every other country in the world. So I just want you to keep all these things in perspective when we're talking about this issue. It's sad that anyone loses their life. It's sad that anyone gets treated poorly because of racism. But let's keep it in perspective. And when I read some of the comments on her posts, at least 50% of the people were saying to her, cut it out, stop it, you've gone overboard. So it's up to her on what she wants to do about this issue. But I think it has played itself out, and she needs to keep things in perspective, at least in my opinion. There's more things I could say about the degree to which this has gone on. Maybe I'll put some in the comments or in the posts about that. Okay, so I'll leave it at that.